Opson, and this is Zealand, and I'm going to be just demoing real quick how I trim her wings for you today. So, you make sure that the hair is completely combed out and brushed before you start, and take care of any like little flyaway hairs that you see that are coming out. And it's nice to use kind of a small scissor because it's detail work. So using a little.
Remember, you're talking to 20,000, 30,000 people, so you can speak up. Okay. All right. Project.
Okay. So, oh, sorry, Z. No, we're not gonna let her. She's tired. All right. So you can first trim the outside of the wing with a little bit longer of a scissor. I like to fluff the hair straight out from where it's living on the body. So it's coming right out just how it lives. So I use a curve and curve up and around the top. And then down under the bottom. When you're going to find the wing placement, I always trim the outside shape first before I go in and trim in the feathers. She already has the wing, so I'm just going to follow what we've already done. And just keep combing and fluffing. And it helps to move around and look at it from different angles so that you're seeing it three-dimensionally. And I'm still using a curved scissor on this part because I want it to be rounded. So it's just easier to work with something that's already curved. And then for the top line of it, a wing is normally like swoopy kind of. So I take the curves and flip them around the opposite direction and just kind of trim in the swoop on the top of her wing. And then comb that hair away. And then I'm just going to round off this edge. Take away any little ledges that are up there.
What made you start doing this trim, Kat?
I was inspired by a pic from Isabella Douglas. And I just thought it was really pretty, and I always call Zealand my angel, so I figured it was fitting for her. So when you go to trim in the feathers, I like to comb it down. And when you're plotting it out, just make sure you're putting the same amount of feathers on this side as you put on the other wing. And the way I normally kind of try to find where they go is to stand behind the dog and just put my hands, eyeball it so you know they're in the right spot on each side. Because you want them to be as symmetrical as possible. So when you trim in the feathers, she already has feathers, so it's not as complicated to find, but I like to use a straight shear and go from the back and trim forward. When you're first doing the wing and they don't have this in yet, you can make your cut a little more shallow. Don't go so deep into the coat. And then if you need to make adjustments, it's easier to make an adjustment. You're not stuck with the first cut you make. So if you make the top one really wide and you don't have as much room for the shorter ones, then you can adjust that as necessary. But these little scissors do kind of just make it easy to get in there. And it's not a huge shear, so you're not going to make a huge mistake. If you make a small mistake, it's easier to correct. And then after you've trimmed it that way, you can go down to the next one. And you'll notice I'm not doing anything with the end yet. I'm just taking my straight. Good girl. And going in there and cutting a straight line forward. And then I'm going to comb away. And move down to the next feather. Repeat. So you do have to take more strokes with a small shear, but it's worth it in the long run to me to just have less risk of a big mistake. And then for the bottom ones, you can do as many feathers as you think the dog's body can balance, or as intricate as you want the wing to be. I prefer like a very simple wing, not with like divided feathers, but just something really simple. So I'm going to trim in that last one under here.
So like you did this on a toy recently.
Right, I did it on a toy at Hershey, and he only had, I believe, three. Okay, I was going to say 3 or 4. Because he's a smaller dog, so obviously he can't balance 6 feathers on the side of his body.
They would look like sticks instead of feathers.
Right. And I like them to be kind of a little bit fatter and not really skinny. Mm-hmm. I think it's more obvious that it's a wing. So then after I've made that initial cut in, I'm just going to spray a little staticky spray. After I make that initial cut in, then I like to go this way and cut the opposite direction, just to neaten it up and really define it.
And you're basically taking off like a little ledge.
Yeah.
It looks like.
So this feather is supporting that feather, and so on and so forth. The shorter hair is pushing the longer hair up and out. And this is a curly coat, so every time you bathe and redo the wing, you're going to have little edges to just snip in, but the more you do it over and over, the cleaner those edges are going to be. And you can get a little bit deeper with your cut each time. So just by going shallow at first, you're giving yourself more leeway.
So you want to talk about where you're at this weekend, Kat?
So this weekend we are in beautiful Cambria in California at the Foxify retreat with Blake Hernandez. And all these lovely people. And we've had
lovely people.
We have had a blast. We, got to just kind of sit around and chat the first night, get to know each other, ask questions. It's a really fun, relaxed environment that's not so stuffy. And I feel like that first night, getting to know people, and they can ask us personal questions about our career and about our competition career, about our shop. That really kind of just opens the door so that people feel more comfortable asking questions throughout the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Everyone happy Kat came?
Yes. So, I'm just going to take out a straight and clean up the side of this front part of the wing that leads into the feathers. And then you can make the body around the wing as short as you feel is necessary for your client and for your dog. You could put a wing on a shave down, and it would be just something kind of fun. The wing doesn't have to be this big. It can be shorter. You can adjust it to fit the needs of your client. And
that's kind of a fun idea because that area on the dog isn't matted very often.
Right. I mean, unless
so if you have to take it,
it shouldn't get matted. And then they can still see like a beautiful collar. It shows off their body shape.
And there's girls that wear those necklaces with angel wings or have the angel, so it could be an easy way to pitch something.
She's going to be a Victoria's Secret angel for Halloween. She has a sparkly thong.
Oh, I love her thong.
One year I put dollars in it and she was a stripper. Which is fitting for dog grooming.
Yeah.
You know, we are all strippers. Well, not all of us, but some. I quit stripping. I retired. But we feel that way when we go to the store and we whip out a bunch of ones. Because that's what people tip in. Alright, so now that I've cleaned up each edge of the wing, now I'll go in with a little curve and I'll finish off the back part of it. So I'm going to trim it up. And then up. And here I'm like almost going down to the skin with the scissor. So it is pretty deep.
Because you don't want it to just be like a cliff ending at the end of the wing, right? You want
you want it to look like they're flying. So there should be like a little curve at the end.
So what do you think is an easy mistake to make that you'd want to really watch out for?
I think probably the easiest mistake to make would be cutting too deep in your first snip.
Mm-hmm.
Or not balancing it with the other side. Okay. So just like with the top wing, if you can take your hands and eyeball where the next feather goes and then where the next one goes. You can also use a cone on the side of the dog and count between, like, so okay, we have this much here, and then you can go and balance that on the other side to get it. But I think that's probably the hardest part, is having them be symmetrical and just being more cautious in the beginning with where you're putting how deep you're putting your scissor.
So that's the fun in trims like these. Like, it could be a shave down, it could be flared legs, it could be column legs, a shaved face, anything, but it just adds like something special to the body. Yeah. And the wings don't have to be this big either. Right. So like if you took like a zero guard all over the dog and started with them being that length and then took the body down with like a 5 around it, you could have less full wings, but still give that detail.
And it's something honestly kind of fun and creative that you can offer a client if you're going to charge extra for it, of course, because it takes you extra time. But sometimes people want like a Halloween costume idea for their dog, and they don't want to do color.
Right.
Because color is so permanent, and there is temporary colors, but they don't work as well. They don't, a lot of times they'll rub off. Chalk can come off on couches and carpet and stuff, and even on other dogs.
So it's the perfect season to see this demo then.
Yes, perfect. And when I started it out with her, I had a clean face and clean feet, but for the freestyle class, a poodle is not allowed to have clean face and clean feet, so we grew out face and little hooves, so she looks like a Pegasus. You can compete with this trim in the freestyle class. It's a little bit ambitious, but I've done it, and it's a lot of fun.
Living legend.
So it's an ever-evolving design, because each time you do it, you're going to get a little more confident with where everything's placed. And it just looks really cool from the front, from the back. I get a lot of compliments from the general public, whereas when my dogs were colored, you got a mixture of compliments. Some people like it, and some people think it's awful. Everyone's allowed to have their opinion. So I just make sure I have everything kind of where I want it. The biggest thing when you have like this length of coat on the side of the dog is keep combing, keep spraying with static spray, and keep scissoring, because it is quite a bit of hair. I mean, like, my pinky goes all the way in. And this part of her body, I pretty sure I did with a 4 attachment comb. So there's a big difference.
Can we just get a good profile shot of it?
She has a pretty waist, and she's an angel.
All right.
Thanks for watching,
you.
guys.